There are 4 things to consider before purchasing a pair of Cariuma shoes, and while today I'm mostly going to be talking about this pair that I've been skating, I do have 3 other pairs to kind of compare and contrast with, so that hopefully you can make a decision that's right for you. The very short answer to what do I think about Cariuma is that I like them. I have another pair that I'm going to skate, but I'll get into all the details right now. Now, the first thing to go over any pair of shoes is the wear. These have lasted me 4 months. There's still a lot of life in them. You can see that even after 4 months of skating, about 3 or 4, if I'm really lucky, 5 times a week, but I'm typically not that lucky. So I would actually say that the outsole is not as good as the Vans slip-ons, but the wear pattern and just how long they lasted were right on par with my other Vans shoes. You can see I got quite a lot in the kickflip zone that came off, and then also from a lot of walk the dogs and footwork. I'm a session or 2 away from ripping a hole right in the bottom of these shoes. There is still quite a bit of life left, especially in my right shoe, but I have been extending the life here with shoe goo. Shoe goo's been lasting me about 2 sessions before I have to reapply it. And on the subject of the sole, I was really impressed with these. You can see that I kind of wore these rounded. There's like round here, and it did not separate whatsoever on either shoe. Both shoes are still completely intact and didn't come apart at all, even though I wore through to the inner sole here and there's no separation. However, on my Vans, which you can see on my left shoe where most of the damage should have been, they're like super clean, but the sole came right apart. And this was my right foot, which doesn't do nearly as much, and it just popped open, which was kind of disappointing. Soles for the win on the Cariuma shoes. So as far as wear, no problem. They've lasted just as well as any of my other shoe. They still have some life in them, but I am going to move on to my next pair. And now on to the next important thing to consider, which is fit. So I actually have these here. My partner actually bought these for me as a Christmas gift because I had mentioned Cariuma and that I was curious about them, but these actually weren't skate shoes. But I mean, my partner doesn't skate, and I was just very touched that I received them at all. And I want to bring these up because I have a little bit of a different opinion on the fit from the high tops and the low tops. The high tops did not fit me that great just because this heel part was a little uncomfortable for my feet, whereas the Vans high tops were a little more comfortable for me for the shape of my foot. And I mean, side note, I did skate these just a little bit. When I wore through another pair of shoes, I started skating these while waiting for the next pair. Now these shoes are the best fitting shoe I think I've ever had. And I knew they would be because the toe fit me so well on this first pair of shoes that I had. I don't know if I have a very common foot shape. What I do know is that the toe portion of most shoes don't fit me. I mean, if you look at both these shoes together, the toe portion of the Vans is slightly longer than the toe section of these. And that is a problem for me because all my toes are the same length. So I don't know what feet should look like. I'm sure most of us have different feet, but if you look at shoes, most people have kind of triangular shaped toes, right? They get a little bit longer in the middle, a little bit shorter on the sides. Well, my toes typically stop before they ever make it to the end of the shoe because they're like all the same length, which gives me a very short foot, but my foot is the widest at the end. And so because of that, if you have feet that are shaped similarly to that, you might really like these shoes. They were very comfortable for me to skate in compared to the Vans that I was skating before this. These were the most uncomfortable pair of shoes I have ever owned. As far as the insole goes, I'm not a huge fan of the Cariuma insole. They were comfortable enough, they were fine. What I didn't like was that I felt like as I walked on them and as I wore them in, they got a little bit smaller, and because of that, the sole itself moved a little bit inside of the shoe, which was weird. Like I could almost hear like this airy sound of like a puff of air or something. And so I have been using footprint insoles instead. This is their new version of the footprint insole. It's softer than the original. And the next important thing to consider is the company. One thing that's important to me, but maybe not everybody, is that I really appreciate how they separate their men's and women's shoes only based on size, not by design. I am so thankful for that. And I mean, if you haven't run into this issue yourself, you might think that it's a really tiny thing to be grateful for. But as long as I live in a place where these shoe sizes are not unisex and they don't use something like inches and centimeters to really tell me how big the shoes are, I am very appreciative when a company will just tell me that these are the shoes in your size. And I appreciate when the designs are the same, because why wouldn't they be? A really interesting thing about this company is that they truly seem to be listening to their consumers, and it's part of the reason I ended up buying these shoes. Now, originally, since I've had 2 pairs, I was thinking maybe I'll get one more left shoe, and then after that I'll try a new pair, try a new fit, see if there's anything else that I like. But like I mentioned with my foot problem, is that I truly can't buy shoes online. Like most of the time they don't fit me. I really have to be able to try my shoes on in person. And so I went to my local skate shop to find out they don't sell shoes. And I was really sad. I was really bummed. After I went there, I came back and I happened to have an email from Cariuma in my inbox. The email was actually an offer for $30 off your next pair of Cariuma shoes if you fill out a short survey. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a company think that you filling out their survey was worth $30. That says a lot about how valuable they think our opinion is. And so I took the survey, and the survey was really interesting. One of the things specifically about the skate shoe was the design of the logo, because so many YouTubers came out and were talking about how ugly they thought this design was. They're like, it's too big, it's ugly, I don't like it. So it's smaller now. Just that, in the survey, it asked if we thought the design was ugly, which I don't care. But to have seen that question in the survey and then to see that their next new pair of shoes to come out actually had a smaller logo, I mean, they are listening. They're listening and they're taking feedback into consideration, which I think is really cool. Not to mention, you can buy one shoe. They are sold out, which, I mean, why wouldn't they be? That's such a good idea, and I really hope that even this idea can kind of spread throughout the skate industry, because they should be selling single shoes. The final thing to consider is actually the Cariuma hate. A lot of people hate Cariuma. Since I wear these in my YouTube videos, I've had people tell me that they unsubscribed or that they're not going to watch my videos because I was skating them. Which, I mean, if you care what shoes I'm wearing, you're probably not gonna care about the content that I create anyways. But they did. People left and people were upset that I was wearing these shoes. I did look up because I was curious why people hated them so much, and a lot of the hate seems to be based on the way they entered the skate scene, which is kind of impressive because, in my opinion, Cariuma has had the most successful social media marketing campaign that I've ever seen. So a lot of skaters who don't think they're skate shoes, who think that some foreign company is coming into the skate scene and kind of trying to just sell their stuff and take advantage of the skaters, I understand that could be upsetting if that was important to you. But the other thing is that some of the biggest brands today, like Nike, Adidas, or New Balance, especially Nike, right? Nike is one of the biggest skate shoes that there are. And when they first came into skateboarding, they were also hated on because they were not a skate company. But they've done a lot for skating communities and the skate scene, so I guess they were kind of accepted. I do think Cariuma is going to continue to get into the skate scene and become sponsors and do a lot for the community though, because they seem to be really consumer focused. I mean, they're gonna offer a good shoe for a competitive price that actually cares about the consumer and is doing really innovative stuff like selling one shoe, and then also sponsor and pay skaters. I have no complaints yet, but you know, I'm not brand loyal for most things, so I can change my mind. So this is the bottom line. They wear on par with fan shoes. They fit with a slightly shorter toe space, which is good if you have short toes or wide feet. And the company seems to be really listening to the consumer, which is all great. But if you're really self-conscious, if the idea that somebody might call you a poser or that there'll be any kind of vocal or silent hostility directed at you at a skate park because of these shoes, don't buy them. I repeat, if that is important to you, do not buy these shoes. Because even me, I'm relatively self-confident now. I never was, but I am now. And once I found out how much hate there were on these shoes by a small group of skaters, I was nervous wearing these into the skate shop when I went to see if I could try on skate shoes. A part of me did consider, should I just wear a non-skate brand? Should I just wear my regular shoes that I walk around in? And it was disappointing. I was disappointed in myself, but ultimately I did wear these and I did go to the shop to find out they have no shoes. But after having that deep conversation with myself, I kind of wanted to wear these more, because if I can shred in these and feel confident, I can shred in anything and feel confident. So it really helped me just kind of remind myself that I should be wearing what I want, skating how I want, and enjoying myself, because I don't want others to dictate how I should be skating or what I should be skating in. I want to be making those choices for myself. So I will be skating this 100% vegan pair of skate shoes by Cariuma, and hopefully I enjoy these just as much, if not more, because we've got this extra toe cap. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little something about these shoes, and I hope to see you next time. That's the easy. Hey, that's my tea.